All right, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Today is the Monday, June 27th, the Monday, episode 703, brought to you by my fantastic sponsor, Eargo Hearing Aids. If you're listening to this podcast, it's a good chance that you're a huge music fan, and you've probably gone to some live concerts over your years, and maybe you're experiencing a little hearing loss, or maybe a lot like myself. Let me recommend Eargo. Eargo is a tiny hearing aid that goes inside your ear canal so nobody sees it. Eargo.me/Dean Del Rey. Get yourself $360 off right now. Type in the code DEAN360. That's the number 360. Eargo is fantastic. I've been using them. I can finally hear what they're saying at the movies. You're at the movie theater and you just hear like garble. Or you're at a noisy dinner and the people are just talking and you just tune out because you don't even know what they're saying. And then you end up like Seinfeld. Remember that? The soft talker. And he ended up, he okayed to wear that pirate shirt on Letterman. I'm saying yes to all kinds of stuff. I don't even know what they're saying. And then they look at me and I'm like, Eargo is going to help you and your hearing problems. Let's get the stigma out of hearing aids. There's nothing wrong with them. I wear glasses and nobody says nothing. Nobody's like, you're dumb, you wear glasses. Well, hearing aids are only going to help you. So why are people so weird about them? There's so much stigma. It shouldn't be. These are state-of-the-art, super hearing devices. Eargo.me/Dean Del Rey. Get $360 off right now. All right. Great guest today. A couple episodes ago, I was really shouting out the new Avenged Sevenfold record, and I can't stop listening to it even right now. They've got a fantastic record out, and I had to talk to the guys. So M.Shadows and Johnny Christ came on, and we really dug into this new record, how they wrote it, how are they playing it live, what it took to do, the balls to totally change direction, everything about it. And man, great episode. So dig into this and then listen to the record, you know? Dig this record. I'm sorry the episode's late, by the way. I've just had a shit show of travel the last 7 days. I went to LAX, sat on a plane for 3 hours, flight canceled, ended up staying in some crack hotel out at LAX because my flight was supposed to be in the morning. Woke up, never really went to sleep really in the crack hotel. It was insane. I can't even believe that these awful hotels still exist around LAX. You know, it had, let me see what it was. It was like a Windingham or something, and they just fucking, here it is, Wingate by Windham. Oh my God, stay away from this fucking hotel. 10300 La Cienega Boulevard, just a fucking shit show. So then I finally get to New York. I miss an arena date with Burr. First gig I've ever missed in the 13 and a half years. And it wasn't just some fucking club date. It was an arena. So I missed one. And then Bill and I were flying back yesterday from New York. Got to the airport at 10:30 a.m. for a noon flight. They kept pushing it. Delayed 8 hours. And we're lucky we even fucking got out. The entire airport, every flight was delayed. There was nowhere to sit. It was a fucking shit show this week. But at least I'm doing comedy. I am not complaining, but holy shit, does it grind on you. So the audio version of the podcast, it's late. But the YouTube was up. I got the YouTube up in time. So don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube. Also check out my Patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. I'll be putting up a bonus episode tomorrow. talking about my week in New York. That was fantastic. Did some great shows with Bill. Saw some good friends, Keith Robinson. Did The Stand. And just walked around the city, engulfed in humidity and insanity. It was a good week. All right, I hope you dig this. Have a great week. Tour dates are deandelray.com. A lot of new tour dates on the website. Please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and leave a review. If you are a new listener, definitely leave a review. You're going to love the back catalog. Check it all out. Let's get into it right now with some Avenged Sevenfold, M.Shadows, and Johnny Christ. All right, here we are. Another episode of Let There Be Talk. Episode number 703 today. And I'm pretty fired up about today's episode because, first of all, introduce yourself, guys.
Hey, I'm M.Shadows, and I sing in Avenged Sevenfold.
Hi, I'm Johnny Christ. I am also an Avenged Sevenfold.
And a podcaster.
And a podcaster,
yes. Podcaster. I mean, that's why you look beautiful. I mean,
that's why I got the golden mic, baby.
He's got a set up back there, the bar.
I actually like your background. I like is that like that's awesome. Your background it's surreal looking.
I'm way into mid-century, you know, our architecture, design, I don't know. I guess because I lived in just shitty boxes all my life, you know, of apartments. You just thrive for glass and light, you know?
Yeah. I heard you talking on your podcast last week, and you were talking about how you want to get rid of all your rock posters and move on to something similar to that background, but like in real life, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's this time where you collect posters in your career playing music. I'm sure you got like thousands. When you're first out on the road, you're like, oh God, my name's on this poster. Oh, we played this festival or whatever. And then you get them all home and you have an apartment and you're like, well, they cost like $500 to frame. I can put up like 5 or 6 of them. And then after a while, you just put them in a closet in tubes. And then you've got like 600 tubes. And then you go, you know what? I'm more into art and classic black and white photography, like stuff. Like I love rock photography, like the famous guys from the 70s that shot all these great people, you know? And that's the stuff I'm into now instead of posters. And I don't want posters in my house.
Yeah. Do you have a wife?
No.
See, I have a wife. So she just threw it all out.
Is it not in the warehouse? Is some of that stuff not in the warehouse, man?
Oh, I don't know. She'll claim that it's somewhere, but it's not anywhere. It's gone. So that took care of all my, posters and names on stuff. It's just, I've got like one thing left. I think, Johnny, remember when we did the Iron Maiden tour in like 2008 and they signed these huge posters for us with our name.
Yeah, there's somewhere back in time tour that we did with them. Yeah, I have it. I have one in my studio. The only
thing I have left. It's just sitting in my bathroom, my own, studio bathroom. And like my wife hasn't made her way in there yet, but I'm sure she'll, one day take that too. But that's all I got.
Well, that's why I have it in my studio because she doesn't. My wife doesn't go in the studio.
She wants nothing to do with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How great was that tour, man? Somewhere I saw the original one, and then I saw the years later the one you're talking about. It's just that's a mind-boggling record and period in time for Maiden, you know.
Yeah, it was a learning experience for us. We got asked to go on that tour, and we actually got asked by them, and we got asked by Guns N' Roses to do their European tours, and somehow we figured out a way to toggle them both. So we would fly like to GNR, then we'd fly to Iron Maiden, and we were going back and forth. But the Iron Maiden audience, is notoriously tough, especially when you got these like pretty boys from Southern California that are on MTV in America. And
we were in makeup at the time too.
Yeah. We think we're cool, and we go out there to a stadium, and everyone's just got their arms crossed and just getting, bologna sandwiches thrown at you, like in Italy and stuff. So we all shaved our heads and we got crazy on stage, and we had lots of feedback in between songs to make sure people couldn't yell at us. And, we have lots of stories from that tour, but it was a huge learning experience. And it also, put us in the shoes of openers, which, having empathy and trying to make sure that your opening act, it feels good and knows what's happening, like that the audience isn't always a reflection of necessarily the band or how their career is going to go. So we always try to be really positive with our opening acts, because we know that Iron Maiden was very cool to us. Like, we'd go backstage and Steve Harris would be like, "You guys are awesome. This is great. Just it's a tough audience, but just play it and just do it." And so, you learn a lot. That's stuff you can't really prepare for. You just have to go do it and get stuff thrown at you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Metallica did it. Yeah, they go to Donington and just get 400 piss bottles and mud and sneakers and shit. People are willing to sacrifice walking home with their feet, no shoes. That's how angry they are at the opener. Fuck these guys. Here's my Converse.
That was the old joke we had going around of the generations of haters that were coming to these shows. Like, they bring their kid and be like, you take off that shoe, son, and you throw it at that opening band. I don't care who it is.
Well, we would sit outside. I remember we were sitting outside the Percy in Paris, and we were playing with Maiden, and we were, in our little van, and we were opening that tour, and we were watching everyone walk in, and it's a lot of fathers and grandfathers with their younger kids. And we're like, yeah, that kid's going to be on that dad's shoulder, and he's going to throw a shoe at us tonight. And then, it's going to be sort of like, yeah. You've earned your stripes in the heavy metal. You threw a shoe at the opener, and we were just making so much fun of it. Just whatever. It is what it is.
It was fun though. By the end, I'd say about a week in, we started to ease in, because in Europe, specifically in Iron Maiden, I feel like they must have just been riding the trains, Matt, because there was like the same 5 front rows at every fucking show with the same 5 front rows of people.
Oh yeah, those are people that just, Iron Maiden goes on tour, they're going to every show.
Yeah, it was remarkable to see, another learning experience too, to see like how crazy that fan can be. But like, by the end, we got those first 5 rows to kind of like come around, and then the other rows slowly came around too. By the end of it, I felt pretty good about it. But I mean, it did suck at the beginning.
It is an interesting thing of taking a gig, like we were just talking about me opening for Metallica doing comedy. You're taking it knowing you're going to go in and just get fucking abuse. And you have to really sit down and think about what type of person that takes to be able to go, look, if we get a couple hundred people a night, that join in and dig us, we'll just keep grinding and keep finding it. And eventually you figure out how to do this. But it's interesting. The first few nights you're out there, you're just going like, man, what are we doing? And the week do not survive. They, the bands break up. They don't end up keep going. They have a couple opening tours and they're out. So that's a wild thing, right? It's like earning your stripes.
Yeah, I think humans love narratives. We all know that. I mean, look at the world we live in right now. And, if you see an artist in their environment and you're having a good time and there's no expectations, it's a lot different than walking into a half empty stadium while everyone wants to see Metallica or GNR. Half the people have their arms crossed. It's scattered. The sound's not great. It's just kind of this thing. And so as an artist, you kind of have to there's 2 things. You have to either, I think it's really healthy when you're younger to go through those things, but then at some point you need to question, is it worth going out here and having these people see us in this environment? Or maybe they find you a couple years later in your own environment that's a better environment. Because people will get this narrative in their head of like, oh, they suck because X, Y, and Z, which were, things outside of your control, right? Like, no one wants to be in 110-degree weather in Georgia watching as the sun's going down some band that's annoying them because they want to see Metallica, and so we had to a lot of times we won't open anymore because we just know it's a weird, we would rather wait till people can see us in our environment at this point. But in the beginning, we needed to earn our stripes. We needed to go out there. We needed to get the bologna sandwiches thrown at us. We needed to have the Iron Maiden chant happening in between every one of our songs, and everyone letting us know that we sucked, which, I'm grateful for, but I don't know if I'd do that anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, because at some point, at first you're hungry.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, holy shit, we're going out with Maiden. We're going out with Gino. I can't believe this, And then after a while, you're like, all right, we did that. And we need to start saying no to stuff. And once you start saying no, instead of quantity, it's all about quality. That's how I look at it now as doing gigs. It's like, okay, I did that. And I also did it maybe for a chapter in a future book, opening for Metallica, Alice in Chains, or, Marcus King. There's the chapter. But after that, you're like, that's not the story. I don't need to keep going out and taking abuse, because as strong as you can be, it will fucking take you down,
Yeah. And I think the biggest part is just knowing that people aren't seeing the right representation of you.
Yeah.
Right. When we did the last Metallica stadium tour, and I famously was quoted in all the the tabloid things, trying to get us to look like we were talking shit on them. We weren't, but we turned that tour down at first because I was like, we're coming off the back of 2 #1 records. We have this crazy stage production. We've got a 3rd record coming out, and I wanted people. I know we could do arenas on our own, so let's let them see that. But then it was like, okay, well, Metallica is doing stadiums, which is 5x the arenas. And it was like, okay, let's give this a shot. But getting out there, it was like, dude, I don't think this is right for us right now. People are hearing our name and then they're seeing this version of us, when I wish they'd just come into the arena and see the blown out big stage show, the vision. And so I think, yeah, like at a certain point, you have to kind of put that to bed and go, we're not doing that anymore. We're doing this and we're standing on our own. But watching those guys, how they controlled an audience, watching how they acted, how professional all those bands were things that we needed to see in person to really understand how to act ourselves when we got to that point, or when we were doing our own thing. So again, it's exactly what you said. It's at some point, and then saying no is powerful. And when you're saying no and you truly mean no, that's even more powerful. When it's not just like a bargaining tool, when it's really like, no, we're just not doing that. Then you start seeing those crazy offers. And then if you can still say no to that, then you're in a good position.
Yeah, I think real quickly on that, just to piggyback off what Matt said though too, when we did say no at first to Metallica, like you said, the stage had just come out. We were about to go do this whole thing with our new production, with our new album. We were really excited about. We spent so much time on, like we always do. We're fucking proud of this record. We wanted to go represent it the way that we wanted to. And then, of course, as Matt said, they misconstrued his comments as like we said no to Metallica. It's like, we're friends with these guys. We were already friends. We've already been out with them before. Like this was it wasn't a pissing contest of any kind. It was literally like, we were trying to think about what was best for our career. But at the end of the day, we ended up doing it, and it was fucking, for what it was good. We still wish that we had a little bit more time with the stage. Turns out we didn't have as much time with that cycle. So it is what it is now.
Well, it is a sad state of affairs now, where the interviews are all about clickbait. They're never going to talk about a great interview. I've had guys on this show and I've talked to them for 2-3 hours, and just incredible conversations about life, art, music, anything. And then boom, one little thing. He said such and such. And it's like, that's not what he said. He just fucking, and then it's like, oh, well, the interview got like 800,000 listens, but all for the wrong reason. It's like, really wild.
I mean, during that Metallica stuff, I remember, Lars was calling me on the phone. We were trying to work it out. And we had said no, but the headline made it look like we're just totally dissing these guys, right? And it's just like, dude, listen to the whole thing. It's like, these guys are our friends. When we go up to Northern California, we hang out, we go to the bar, or we're at their house or whatever. And to make it look like that is just so embarrassing, because it's like, come on, like I know they're gonna wake up and read that, and then they're gonna have to figure. It's like, but listen, that's the world we live in right now. But you kind of reap what you sow, right? Like we have art and music, and all these things are so commoditized now, and it's because everyone's just got this quick sort of reaction to things. And for something like any one of these tabloid magazines or metal magazines, it's better for them to get like 80,000 views and a bunch of likes on some clickbait than it is for someone to sit there and read an article and have a discussion about it. There's just not, there's no place for that anymore.
They don't take
Twitter,
the time.
Yeah, that's Twitter. It's a couple of, and that's fine. Everyone knows that's what it is. And so as an artist, you kind of just have to embrace it and let those people be on their fringe and on their little, like, whatever. Like, honestly, at this point, I don't care how bad you are. Anyone talking about you in this day and age is good. It's just a weird thing. It's a reflection of our society. Honestly, it's not a reflection on the people. It's a reflection on society. So, and you know, with our new record right now, like, all you see are 10 out of 10 reviews and 0 out of 10 reviews, right?
I love that.
And it's like, but it's like the best way to be, because the people that hate it absolutely hate it, and they are just on. But you know, it's one of those things where in 2023, having a 0 out of 10 is actually better than anything you could ask for, because people are talking, and it's a weird society we live in at this point.
Well, Mitzi Shore, the famous owner of the Pauly Shore's mom, owner of the Comedy Store, she said it best. She's like, you need half the people to hate you and half to love you, and you will have an incredible career, because they'll always be talking. If everybody likes you, you're doing something wrong. Now that's
absolutely
an interesting thing to get into, because I will be honest with you, I was never an Avenged Sevenfold fan, and I couldn't figure out why. Because I would listen, you know, I know that you love GNR. I'm a huge GNR guy. And I know you guys love all the right stuff. And each record, I would, you know, I'm not a guy that's like, I don't like them. I'm never rigid. I'm not a tumbleweed. I go, let's give it a spin again. So this record, I've got to tell you, could be the best record I've heard in a couple years. And it may be the record of the year for me. It's pretty early in, but this Queens of the Stone Age new record, Rival Sons, and the new King Gizzard are just all mind-boggling to me. But this record is so fucking good, and it grabbed me. Nobody, I heard it and I was like, oh, what the fuck is this? Love the video. I love stop motion. I put on the record and I haven't stopped listening to it, man. And I am hooked. And what's funny was, I talked about it last week on the podcast, was I know a lot of fans hated it. And, or, you know, that's what I'm reading, the clickbait. And I'm thinking, if they weed out some people maybe from growing and becoming a different type of band, that's all right. And now you've got other fans like me now, you know, like different people that are coming into the fold, like, wow, what is this? This is cool. And this record blows my mind, man.
I appreciate it. I think you're exactly right. Listen, all artists can do is be a reflection of themselves at any point in time. And, you know, there's nothing worse than when people are trying to put you in a box and want you to write the same music you wrote when we were in high school or 20 years old. And those were reflections of who we were back then. We were aggressive youth, young kids that were just kind of all over the place, like making a certain type of music, and every record kind of changed. But this one in particular, much more musical in terms of not having to have one foot fully in metal. It's got so many different eclectic influences that we've had our whole life that we never really were able to kind of quantify. Like if you think about like The Residents or Mr. Bungle or all these different things that we were growing up listening to. And I think this is just where we're at right now. And yeah, you can't worry about, it's a different type of record. Like you said, like the philosophy, all of it is different. And so it's not going to appeal to people that want the same thing or more of the same, or they're there in their life right now. It doesn't mean they're not going to get here. Maybe they're just not here right now. You know, maybe it's our job to put our arm around them and say, hey, you know, we're up the street at this bar and let's hang out here. Like this is what we're doing now. There's so many psychological things that go into if people like records or not, or if they don't, or what they're listening to at the time. And it's not really our job to figure that out. It's just our job to put something out that we totally back and we appreciate. And we'll see where it goes. You know, it's hard to really talk about it because it's hard to, you know, there's really no right or wrong answer. It's okay to hate this record.
Yeah. I tell you what, man, I can't even believe it, actually. I don't even know how you write a record like this. It's funny to think about Nobody as a single. No way is this a traditional single. But when you really listen to it, the hooks there's so many hooks in this single, you know, starting with the, you know, how it comes on, that's stuck in your head. And then how the verses flow. And I hear so much influence on this. I hear some Alan Parsons, I hear some Daft Punk, I hear some Alice in Chains, I hear some Zappa. It is insane, some Systems, but it's all blended into something that's very original. And and the balls to make a record like this and be like, yeah, fuck you, man. This is something that has depth, and it's going to take you a while to take it all in. Don't just spin it and go, I don't like it. Because, man, I was spinning it over and over, and I was being like, wow. Like when I got to Ordinary, I was like, this is insane. I can't. I'm looking at my buddy. We're riding around.
The cutie song. He loved the cutie song.
I was
Turn
just
it
like,
down. Yeah.
this is fucking great, man. I mean, and I was calling people. I'm like, holy shit, have you heard this new Sevenfold record? And they're like, is this Dean? You know, I'm like, I'm telling you, man, this thing is fucking great. I'm telling everyone, like old school. It's a lot like when Metallica put out Injustice for All, and people are like, what the fuck is that? I mean, that thing was so different from Master of Puppets. It has no bass. The songs are long and weird and proggy. I love bands that make something totally outside the box, man. And that's what you guys did.
Yeah. There's a few records I think of that for my era and my age when they came out. One is Pinkerton by Weezer. It was like, they blew up with the Blue Album. And then they put out Pinkerton, which is one of my favorite records of all time. It's just dirty. It's
so good.
It's lyrically uncomfortable. It's all these things. And that's one. And then Disco Volante is one from Mr. Bungle. Mr. Bungle was already weird with the self-titled, but Disco Volante was just like Mike Patton's not even singing. He's just making noises the whole time. And there's just, it's like them messing around with keyboards. Like it blows my mind, but those are records that like Yeezus is one for me with Kanye. Like he put out pretty much a heavy metal record that everyone in hip hop hated it. And now it's one of his essential like records. But there's always those things that kind of stand outside the box and outside the norm, and they ruffle feathers and people have knee-jerk reactions. And I think this is definitely one of those, and but you got to make sure that it's backed up with musicality. It's got to be backed up with like some depth, right? It can't just be weird for weird's sake. And I think that's a lot of people's, I've seen a lot of people's like go-to on this of I hate it because they're just trying to be weird. It's like, no, actually we're not. It's just,
it's just what we're into.
They're trying to be prog. It's like prog is the last thing on our minds. We don't care about that. All we care about is writing shit that feels cool.
and sounds good to us, and it's what we want to make. That's the whole.
Yeah, people overthink it, and they put stuff. They try to even put these things in boxes, and I think prog's even become its own box, which sucks because prog should be so many different directions. It should be, why does prog have rules? So I think it's such a like a the world is funny. People like to put things in a box so they can kind of discuss it better, I guess. But this record is kind of boxless, I guess.
Let me ask you guys how you went about writing this record, because there is a thing where, look, a fan could say they're just doing this to try to be weird. Look, people can sit down and try to be weird and it wouldn't work. There wouldn't be songs there. They wouldn't know how to be. You can't be authentically weird if you're just trying to be, you know what I'm saying? You can't just, you can't be fake weird is what I mean. Like, hey, we're going to be weird on this record. There's no way, because when I'm listening to the songwriting and just the parts in the song, I'm like, how the fuck did they come up with that? And it all flows. How did you guys sit down and start to write this record? It's not like you get a couple acoustics and you're like, all right, I got this tune. I mean, how did this come about?
Most of our favorite musicians or writers, whether it's movies or art or music, I think one thing that I've kind of like noticed is that they have interesting minds and they're very creative in terms of like just their taste and the things that like if something hits me and I'm listening to it on the radio, like I'll make a note of it and I'm like, oh, that made me like feel weird, or I got chills like on that part, or I was thrown off, I was confused there, and I'll make a note of it, right, and kind of go back later and see why that made me feel that way. And the same happens for movies. The same happens for when I see a piece of art, and I'll make little notes. And on this record, we kind of wanted to really only keep portions of songs in the record that were noteworthy. So for instance, if you listen to like We Love You, that beginning where it's all kind of out of time and then it jumps into that like techno rave sort of more this, more that, that was like a mistake on the click track. The click got moved over to something and it moved into something else. And I'm hearing, and I was like, what the, like that messed me up. And it was all in the same grid, but it messed me up. And so I was like, well, what if we write a riff and then one's on one side and one. And so like things like that made me jolt or my heart kind of skipped a beat. We just basically said, we're only keeping stuff that does that. Right. Or only stuff that really makes you feel something emotional or makes you turn and look at the speaker or go, what happened there? And so I think it was taking a lot of time to make sure that we had those elements, those moments, walking around on mushrooms or watching movies and taking note from like maybe an Ari Aster film or something that's like, oh, that Midsommar makes me feel this way. Well, what does it feel like to be in the middle of the daylight, in a horror film, things like that kind of twist your like perception of what they should be, and then writing music around it. So there's no real answer because it comes from so many different places, but yeah, just kind of waiting it out and not just sitting there and staring at each other plugged in going, hey, what do you got? Like we've
done that enough. We want to get out of that. We wanted to get out of that world.
Yeah. And that's always a bore. So we wanted to get away from that. So it was more like, hey, I saw this film. I felt this way about it. And this is kind of the dialogue that's happening. And, like something like We Love You, the beginning, here you are, you've come so far, sunny days. We're thinking of like Sesame Street. Growing up, this morbid sort of like Big Bird running around and like, hey, it's all great. Come on, guys. Like, so we're trying to like channel that, right? With the grind of everyday life. So to us, that shift into the 808 techno sort of Euro rave part was more like the grind of life, but contrasted with Sesame Street, right? And like the sun shining and everything's great. And like, so just those kind of ideas pop in your head and you just go all in on it instead of trying to hide it. Just step into it for what it is, right? And make other people feel that sort of crazy shift.
Were there any tracks that didn't make it because they just didn't feel like the flow of the record, because this record is really abstract. So if you had just kind of a normal rock tune, it'd be like, that's not really going to make it in there.
Yeah.
Several stuff, a lot of things coming in and out. I mean, we also had originally an idea to do a bunch of what do you call them, buffers in between, not buffers, bumpers in between each song, and have them like kind of flow into each other and stuff, and it just was kind of taken away from the vibe a lot, I think so, right?
Yeah. And I think what I always try to say this because I hope it inspires other people that are creative, whether they like our band or not, but 99% of the stuff doesn't get used, right? It's like
on all of our records.
yeah we write and we write and we write, and we have, when you pick up a guitar, the nobody riff, as simple as it is with that tone, that's a 1 in every 500 times you pick up guitar, right? Because most of the time you pick it up and it's like bum, 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 da, 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 da. And it's like the normal, you go to the modes and you're playing some blues and you're playing, but at 1 in 500 times you sit down and it's and you've got this like vision. You're like, okay, well, that's ominous, but what if I play with minor and major, and I go back and forth and build this thing? That's 1 in 500, but the 499 things you came up before that, they sit on a hard drive somewhere and you're probably not going to touch them. And so to me, that's like, that should be inspirational to people. Cause I think a lot of people, they start trying stuff and they go, oh, I don't have it. I don't have it in me because I have all these things that aren't great. Well, so do we. And 99% of the stuff we make is not great or even worthwhile being on a record. It's just kind of, it's trash, right? And you just kind of move on from it.
Well, I think that's another part of this record too. I know you talked a little bit before, Matt, on that ear catching stuff that we were hearing. We always had those elements in our records before where we'd be writing together and laughing our asses off or doing whatever because something was happening like one time per song. But I think the focus, like Matt was saying, of making sure it happens multiple times on the song in the entire album and trimming out all the fat along the way is really part of what brought this album together too.
Something like that is like, it's pretty basic, but when you add everything around it, the colors, how the vocal comes in, and then just Brooks drumming and stuff, you're like, oh wow. All of a sudden it becomes this whole piece, and it starts to unwind, and you're going like, this is just incredible, this song, and then every time I hear that intro now, it's just like, oh yeah, I know what's coming. It's funny.
PTSD kicks in.
Yeah,
no, here it is, the lawnmower, as people have said.
They call it a lawnmower. I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah,
the lawnmower.
Yeah,
What it reminds me of if just for a second of Eddie Van Halen on like I think it's Running with the horn at the beginning.
Oh
yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. I heard that.
I can hear that one.
That was a car horn, I never knew that as a kid, but it's that kind of vibe of things that just stick in your head. And this record has a bunch of that, though. When you get into, like I said, Ordinary or Easier, there's so much depth and different stuff going on. It's like a full sound landscape, man.
Yeah, I think, one thing that really helped push this record over the edge was the lyrical kind of themes, right? Like not only the mundaneness of life, but like the absurdity of it. And when you look at your life in like all these kind of like pieces, there's all these memories that stick out, and they're usually like, it's usually like a collection book, or like, memories that pop in and out, or all these like really either interesting parts of your life, or sitting in your bed when you're 6, just chilling. Like there's all these, we have this like scatterbrain sort of memory of the past, and how life, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 41, and it's like if I blink, I don't even know how I got here, right? It all just the way time works and the way we perceive time, and obviously there's entropy and things have happened and time is real, but at the same time it feels like a dream. It feels insane, right? And I imagine the same if I make it to 80. The same thing is going to happen. I'm going to feel like nothing had passed, and I'm there in the present. And so to really step into that and make the record have these left turns, have these moments that are super catchy, but we never overdo them, not trying to like milk any sort of theme. The overall theme is the sporadicness and the randomness of it, the absurdity of it. So that sort of theme lyrically helped us to make more sense of the randomness of the actual music and the tracks, and not staying anywhere for too long, because as life is, you're here now and you were somewhere else then, and it's vastly different things but kind of the same. And it's an interesting thing to kind of try to quantify it, or to put that on in audio form, but that's the kind of our best attempt at it.
I think that this record is in a level of what Axl thought he could get to with Chinese Democracy, and he never really got there, as far as being a totally different type of band from the Appetite, and then going into the Illusion records. You're slowly losing people like, what is this Illusion stuff? And I think those are incredible records.
Oh, I love 1 and 2 are my favorites.
They're insane. But Chinese Democracy, it just didn't get there. And I think you guys definitely got there as far as like a totally different style record. I wanted to ask you at what point, because I would listen to Appetite, and then I would listen to Mr. Bungle, and then I would listen to NWA. At what point, when you were younger, did you start reaching out, both of you guys, and listening to different types of music? Because there are those people that are like, no way, metal only. And it's like, really? You're not going to listen to Johnny Cash? You're not going to listen to Miles Davis or Peter Tosh or something? No fucking way. At what point were you digging into stuff? Was it like your parents, or did you just find it from other cool friends?
I think a little bit of both for me. Honestly, I was growing up. My father was more of the metalhead rock guy. My mom was listening to pop music. She was an aerobics teacher. She had mixtapes all the time around when she was listening to Michael Jackson or anything else that was popular in the 80s. So I grew up with a lot of that, and I love that stuff too. But I think it wasn't until I was about 10 or 11 when I started to kind of venture out myself, not just because my parents had showed me different music, where I started discovering bands like Primus or Mr. Bungle or something like that, or a lot of punk rock. That's when punk rock was in my life, was right around then. I was discovering NoFX, Pennywise, and Rancid. And that was all right around, 5th grade of elementary school. And from then on, it was just, I always just loved music. Maybe it was because I had an eclectic house with different vibes. I mean, my grandmother introduced me to, all the country stars. She was a big Dolly Parton fan. So I think just like early on, I've always had this, I was always exposed to it. And then at about 10, 11 years old is when I really started to go to the warehouse down the street and buy stuff for myself. And that's when I started, like, you'd pick out CDs or tape cassettes at the time for me, based on the cover. A lot of times, like I wouldn't like, I would be like, well, I know this band kind of, but I don't know. I got to look at the album cover to see which one of them I'm going to give a listen to, and you end up finding weird shit that way. I think there's a lot of Gwar. Some of my favorite Gwar records I found that way. It's like, it was really fun. I think it's kind of, I hope that they can still, I mean, kids seem to still be able to do it these days. I mean, everything's on streaming. You can just kind of, I don't know if they're going through the libraries as much though, or is it all word of mouth at this point? I just don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the difference now is that people don't have to live with a record. When we had to buy a record for $17.99,
True.
if you didn't like it, you had to live with it, and then you ended up liking it.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my biggest things with that. I remember everyone at school told me there's a band called Death by Stereo. It's incredible.
Oh, wow.
I went to Bionic Records, bought it. I could not stand it. I could not stand Ephraim's voice, but I bought the record. So then I started listening to it. It became one of my favorite records of all time, which is that first Death by Stereo record. But if I lived in, if I was born in 2015, I would have just been next, trash. Yeah. This is garbage.
Yeah. All the internet for sure. Just let everyone know what you think about it.
Yeah.
So real quick for me, it was my dad was listening to the very earliest stuff I had. My dad was listening to all the stuff from Beatles to Alice Cooper, one of his favorite artists of all time, Led Zeppelin, all that had vinyl. But he was very modern in terms of, he saw Guns N' Roses on Headbangers Ball. So he got, Super Unknown, Soundgarden, Nirvana, Nevermind, GNR, Skid Row. He was listening to all that stuff. Then I met Jimmy Sullivan, the Rev. And when I went to his house, I noticed he had 500 million tapes, they're all on his room. So that got me into like everything from Slayer to Testament to NoFX to Bad Religion to everything on Epitaph, everything Fat Records. But he was also listening to like the Sparks, the Residents, Mr. Bungle, Frank Zappa. So that was a crazy thing. And then when I met Brian was like learning, he wanted to be a studio musician. And this was like around 6th grade or 5th grade. And Brian would go into the studio with his dad and he was learning, jazz and all these different things. And we showed him Pantera, which blew his mind. He heard Dimebag Darrell for the first time. So we made him a metalhead. He opened our eyes to like Steely Dan and things like that. And then Mr. Bungle was like kind of the thing that we all loved, and we all loved punk rock and we all loved that. So it was just like, Jimmy really was the guy that had everything, very eclectic, but Brian brought in an outside thing that most kids our age weren't listening to. We weren't listening to classical or jazz or these other things that he was learning all these modes on the guitar. But we all shared a love for aggressive music and punk rock and even hardcore, a lot of like Vision of Disorder, Poison the Well, Sick of It All, Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today, all those things. So just being in Southern California, I think, and having a group of friends that were just into music, we just were taking it all in. And we were trying to fit into everything. We were going to heavy metal shows. We were going to punk rock shows. We were going to Warped Tour. We were going to Ozfest. We're going to Metallica and Candlebox. We're going to Judas Priest. We're going to Pantera and Ozzy or Black Sabbath. I mean, we're just doing everything. I think it comes down to where we live, right? Southern California kind of had everything and a good group of people.
Dude, Orange County specifically too. There's Dean talking about Social D on his last episode.
I have a social distortion tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it's Orange County to the max, like where we grew up, it's right time, right place, right? I mean, the late 90s, I mean, you had everything. You had No Doubt blowing up out of Orange County all over everywhere with Tragic Kingdom, while you still got, all the other punk bands and Social D's of the world that were still big, but not like on that mainstream. I'll say, you know, it was like just underneath that.
And we had Bionic Records,
yeah,
which I'd go to Bionic, and this guy Mike, who now owns it, Mike would show me like At the Gates or, you know, Blind Guardian or Sonata Arctica, like European power metal and Children of Bodom and stuff before, like these are like first records, right? First, second records. And so taking that, mixing it with like Pantera and Bad Religion and NoFX, having a curator like Mike in my life where I'd go to Bionic every day. And if I was buying the new Korn record, he's like, oh, check out At the Gates too. Or, you know, I'm buying the new Pantera and he's like, oh, check out, you know, Children of Bodom, Hate Breeder. You'll probably love that record. Having a guy like that helped a lot because it opened my eyes to what was happening in Europe. And I think, you know, record shops, it's one of those things where, you know, it's not the same just seeing it on a playlist on Spotify. It's just because you don't have anyone vouching for it, right? You don't have anyone like kind of curating and saying, this is the good stuff.
No, instead you got everyone's giving all their hate about it. So.
Yeah, you're right. And it is cool to have somebody like at a record store when you're in there. And, you know, I go in, I go, man, I love this 16 horsepower, this band from Colorado. The guy goes, oh, if you like that, you're going to like where they got it from, Gun Club. Check that out. And they're like, huh? And you're going backwards. You're finding shit backwards, you know, which is, and it's always from learning at the record store. I spent hours in a record store and, you know, and that whole thing of the dude just going like, nah, that sucks. You and your Kiss. Here, fucking listen to this. And they give you something and you're like, what is this? You know, and whatever it is, you know, because you start out with whatever you like and that's all you like for a little while. And then I always said that they should induct the older brother into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Totally.
I don't have one, but you know, everybody has that guy, the neighbor, the older brother or whatever. That's like, dude, put this on and learn it. You know,
I had two older brothers that did that to me. So
yeah. And that's Mike for me at Bionic. I'd walk in there. I was the young kid and he was, you know, that sucks. This is what you want to listen to, you know, like, you know, anything mainstream just sucked.
So good. I love that.
Speaking of, Johnny was talking about artwork and looking at album covers. The album cover of this new record, I love Ralph Steadman, you know, and it has that kind of vibe. And I just love the artwork of the album cover too. Can you tell I like this record? I already know like the Sevenfold fans are going to be like, dude, enough. Go back and listen to Hail to the King or fucking, you know, whatever. The album cover looks fantastic. Who did that and what was the idea of it?
Yeah. So Wes Lang did it. Wes Lang is, you know, described by GQ as the world's most badass artist.
Wow.
So he's this guy that he's a friend of ours now, but it took like 6 years to get to really know him. I fell in love with his stuff when I saw it. I saw it on a bunch of different things, but he ended up doing the Yeezus album with all that heavy metal artwork. He did some stuff with Amiri. He did some stuff for Grateful Dead, but he doesn't really do much. You gotta know him. And I was sending him demos. He was showing me art. It was both inspiring each other. And then one day he did 20 pieces of art and said, I did this for the record, you know, and I had asked him for years to do something and it was always no. And then it was kind of amazing. Like it was just the right time in his life, the right time in our life. And he just sketched out these things. And it was just, you know, I interpret it as the anxiety of life and the reaper's always waiting. And he kind of interprets it as it's my job to tap you on the shoulder and say, you are going to die. So act accordingly, right? Live in the moment. Get moving, do what you want to do. Yeah. And so I think it was a perfect blend of, working with him on this. I don't think the record, the aesthetic would be anywhere where it is now without him. I always attribute a lot of this to him and I always am texting him and calling him and just like, this wouldn't be the same without him because everything from the merchandise to the live show to when you open up that packaging or the vinyl, the deluxe version, all 20 pieces of art, it's really stunning. And Wes is just, you know, he's one of those guys where if you can get him to do something, it's awesome, but probably going to be no. So, which makes it even sweeter, right? It's like, It's awesome that he did it. Wes Lang.
Let's talk a little bit about the record comes out and you got to get ready to tour and you got to learn to play this fucking record and to sing this record. I mean, this isn't, I'm so bummed I missed you guys. I had no idea that you played a couple weeks ago at, what was it, the Forum or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm furious because I would have loved to seen this, man.
I should have texted you, man. I'm sorry. I should
Oh,
have let you know.
I was like, God, yeah. Here I am watching it on Blabbermouth. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But once you started to, you write the record, you record it and everything, and then you go, oh my God, now we got to go out and do these songs live. How did that come about? Did you have to drop some stuff, or did you just figure it out? Do you have to use some tapes? What's going on with that?
I think we do a really, we have an interesting blend of technology and organic, right? So on the record, we don't use much technology. We're using old technology like vocoders and not using plugins. We're using a lot of real stuff, whether it's tape or phasers or all things that are kind of outboard gear. But the songs are on a click track, right? We're playing to some sort of click, even if it's not on a click, we can create a click around the things that move, right? So for instance, in Mattel, there's that, and I know it might sound crazy, but that was all done not on a click, but right. You could sit there and hear where the mellotron and the sort of different things are playing, and you can create a click to it. So live, we're playing to a click, and we're using this really cool blend of technology where, because it's on a click, we can have all the guitar tones and the flute and the strings and all these things. We can actually have it all modulate and turn into what we want it to turn into at a particular time in a song. So what that means is it took a ton of time to program it all. But like if there's a flute or like some strings or there's a guitar tone that switches, the guys just have to play and it will switch through their rigs.
It's automated.
Yeah. So something like, and we haven't seen anyone do it yet, but Brian really is kind of insane on this stuff, like learning where it's going. So like, for instance, in the middle of Game Over, it's like thrash, thrash, thrash. And then that bridge hits. They're actually playing all those notes on the guitar, but it turns into like a flute and like a mellotron, but they're playing
MIDI,
it through their guitar.
MIDI type of shit?
Yeah, it's all MIDI.
Yeah, it's all MIDI. It is MIDI.
It'll flip through it'll turn into a fractal. And then as soon as it gets to the next part, it will flip back out and back into the amp. So like in something like something like Mattel, there's this crazy solo that people aren't sure if it's a synth or if it's a guitar. It's like all that weird stuff that he's doing. He's basically got that. So it clicks into a synth with a harmonizer, thrown auto tune on it. So it hits those notes real sharp, and he's controlling it with his foot on a pedal. But during that portion, it flips over to that and it goes into that. And then as soon as the next part hits, it flips out. So we've basically gone down every song and programmed everything to do what we need it to do so we can play it all live. We haven't seen that done yet. It's a challenge, but it's kind of even my vocal effects. When I sing, there's a phaser on it, I just have to sing and it happens. It just pops on and then it pops back out. Or like on Ordinary, hard auto-tune hits, then a vocoder hits, and then it's out. And so it's really fun because you can kind of just be free and sing, and it just all happens, which is cool.
Yeah, the effects are built in.
It's like a play. You're up there fucking delivering this big grandioso record, How much of the record are you doing live?
We're doing all of it except 3 songs right now. Yeah, we're doing like Game Over, Mattel, We Love You, Nobody, and then G.O.D. and Life is But a Dream. So, and we'll add Cosmic in later because people are really liking Cosmic. But at that point, there'll only be 2 songs that we haven't played, which is, it's a lot for a new record. But again, we are pushing into this new era, and we're not going to be shy of it.
Right.
I love that, man. It's like, nah, man, this is it. Either you get on board or you're left behind,
Yeah. And the way I'd put it is, the way Joel Madden explained it to me, he said, you're just going to the bar up the street, put your arm around these people and say, come on up here and check this out. And, you don't want to demean people and tell them they're stupid for not getting it and sometimes we want to, sometimes you want to people will write it off because of the production or something they don't, they're not used to, or they're just being weird to be weird, or they forgot how to write a song. And you just want to go, you idiot. But you don't. You go, no. live with it for a little bit and come on up the street. And so I hope that people do that. I know people will. People come around to things. We all have. I hated the wall at first. I hated the wall for 10 years. And then one day I was sitting in Lake Powell and I put it on and I'm looking at the stars and I was like, what was I thinking? How did I not get this? Like, and that's just life. It's being a human.
It's like Kiss the Elder,
Yeah.
When that came out, I bought it and I was like, oh, what happened?
What happened? Yeah.
I think I'm like, 13 or 12. And now I put it on and go, these guys were fucking ballsy to do this. And I love like half the record. I'm like, this shit is cool, man. It's an interesting thing. Like with Metallica, they all want Metallica to be Kill 'Em All. And they all want Metallica with Cliff Burton. They all want Metallica with the long hair. They all want Metallica to be strictly speed metal, and every time they drop a record, here comes the fucking trolls, it's hard.
I love it.
Meanwhile, the stadiums are full,
Yeah. And I think I've always had a lot of pride in Metallica because they do change it up. I've always felt that was awesome. But that's just my personality. Some people say, Matt, you're an idiot. Like, we listen to this band because we like this thing. We don't care about their artistic exploration. but I do. I think it's when I like a band, I like I said earlier, I like their taste. I like where they're taking me because, just like, and I've used this analogy before, but like even with an iPhone, like at one point we were all mad because the button was gone on the bottom. And now I can't even believe we used to have a button on the bottom. Things evolve and they get used to it. And it's nice to see where someone's creativity will take you, because without that, we'd all be just rehashing the same things, and that's not fun.
Well, they complained about that. They complained about that too. They complained about that in the movies too. Like, why are they redoing all these remakes?
Well, and a lot of times what happens is people don't say anything and they just move on to something else.
Yeah.
Because something else will pique their interest and it'll become exciting. And why not have your favorite band do that instead of waiting for something else to come along and knock your favorite band off the pedestal because they're stuck redoing the same thing when they could have probably done something different and taken you there. It's not always going to land. And that's just that's just art. And it might not even land for you now. It might land for you in 10 years or next month, or maybe it never does, but you might respect it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the years of you singing this. The singing on this record is pretty insane. And I know over the years you've had some problems. I came close to having nodes. I got lucky, caught it quick, and just relearned to sing. And with proper, warming up and sleep and no talking after the gigs. But what has changed over the years? I know at the beginning you were like a screamer. Then you had some problems. You had some surgery. You saw Ron Anderson. Everybody goes to see him, I guess, at one point in their career, looking for the magic answers. But what changed for you? And is it tough to sing like something like this live? Because it's so many different flavors.
Yeah, this record's actually way easier for me to sing than the old stuff, because the old stuff always is sitting in that mixed bridge, and it's always at like 10. Right. It's always like F sharp, G, A, B, B flat, or B flat, B, and maybe up to C, D. And you're constantly in there and you're just doom, like nonstop. And the attrition on your voice, eventually you'll have one show where you go wide on a vowel or something kind of gets out of place. And then you're like, oh shit, I got 36 more dates to do. And I've got not much time to recover. So eventually things start going south. Right. And things went really south for me in 2018 after the Metallica tour. It was actually after a European tour. I knew I was in trouble, but I didn't want to cancel Download Festival. I didn't want to cancel Hellfest and all these things. I should have probably, but I don't regret it, because what had happened is Ron Anderson ended up passing away, unfortunately. And I started working with Seth Riggs, and Seth and his wife, Margareta, they turned my technique around. And even on the record was difficult to get through, but even now, being a year out from it, things are even way further progressed from even that. Right. And then because I'm just in this new technique and learning it, and going live is you know, you walk out there and all the bad habits, like you got to keep them at bay, you know, like,
Well,
so
especially after 5 years of not being out
there's
there.
like, there's like the anxiety of it. And then there's like, oh, I used to, so to give like the quick macro of this, Ron really taught me to sing from the head voice down. Seth wants me to sing from chest up through a healthier bridge with more of an anchor on the voice. So I've been doing that. It's been really healthy. It's been awesome. I love it. Learning every single day. You know, before this, I had an hour vocal lesson with them. I do it every single day with them. And part of it's just trying to not get yourself outside the walls and start chipping away at the, you know, the attrition on the voice, and just trying to stay in that tunnel and keep it clear and keep it, you know, healthy. And then just doing it every night and hoping I don't fall outside of that and then get myself in trouble again. But, you know, that's kind of the curse of lead singers. You know, you're the one that can't go to the party after, you can't be out of control. You can't be raising your voice in a club setting. You can't be out all night. You can't be drinking before the show or anything. You know, you're kind of just there, and you're kind of just gotta try to get through 2 hours every night.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what about the touring schedule now? You guys are out on tour, or was that like a one-off gig? What's going on with that forum gig? Because I don't see you guys are home right now.
We're home right now. We're in between. We're kind of ramping up because, like I just said, it's been 5 years between shows that we played since 2018 to our first one back was actually at Area 15 in Las Vegas, where we had a augmented reality setup and everything like that. It was a really cool spot, and we wanted to try and do something because we were about to do Danny Wimmer's festivals in Daytona and Columbus in front of, you know, however many thousands of people that was. And we're like, we should probably try something a little bit smaller before we go do those after 5 years of not playing. So, you know, we did a fun little thing in Vegas, and we did those 2 festival dates. We did the Kia Forum 2 weeks ago, and this week we're going to be in New York doing Madison Square Garden.
And then we have 3 weeks off, and then we start another tour. And then that'll be more of a proper tour.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm so glad we did Vegas, because I instantly went back to bad habits, you know, but it was a short set. I was able to have a week off, regroup, went into Rockville. It was a good set, but not great. Regrouped, got it. And, you know, just started getting it under control, you know, because you have all these old songs that you're so used to this thing you were doing before. And now it's got to be another way, or you're just going to get yourself in trouble. So we luckily had these shows before the big boy shows, you know?
Yeah. Just little ways of getting us back into it after so long. And like, you know, it gives Matt some time in between the shows and stuff like that, which is a blessing for right now. And now that, you know, he's feeling a lot better, we'll be in buses in July doing the, you know, the North American run. So that'll be a whole other thing that we got to get ready for.
Oh man. And who's on the tour with you guys? It's you guys headline, and then you bring in out some bands.
Falling Reverse on the second half, and this kid named Kim Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the Canadian part, we're doing Alexis on Fire. They're a big Canadian band, you know, and they do really well there. And Kim Dracula, we wanted to give someone, like, we're trying to make the tour something that people haven't really seen before. It's one thing that's important to us, is not bringing out the usual suspects. And so Kim Dracula is like kind of I would say like a Marilyn Manson type character, but for TikTok. He's huge on there, and he's never toured, and we wanted to bring someone else that's different, and it's controversial for sure. The stuff he does, the music videos he does, and it seemed really interesting to us to bring out some.
Does he identify as he? I'm sorry, or is?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I just want to make sure. I don't know.
I don't know. Now you're making me feel uncomfortable.
It
I
worked.
don't know.
Success.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, there's the blabbermouth quick.
Yeah. There is a person named Kim Dracula that's coming on tour with us. Yeah.
Johnny, you said an interesting thing, and it does kind of blow me away of what's going on with the music biz these days. And I don't really understand it. And I loved how you guys went about it, just dropping one single, nobody. These bands are putting out like half the record before the record's out. And by the time the record comes out, I don't think there's any more heat for it. You're like, you feel like in your mind, you got the gist of the record. I'm talking about for Surface fans. and they don't really go maybe dig the last half of it. Isn't that an interesting way to do it? It's bizarre. It's like the 50s where they just dropped singles.
Yeah, I mean, that is the nature of everything being on playlists and everything like that. I mean, every artist wants to be on a Spotify playlist, right? So that single gets picked up, and then hopefully they discover the record through that. Honestly, right now, I think it's kind of a cool time, because it is kind of the Wild West. If you're gonna release an entire record of music, there's no real wrong way of doing it. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. It's just kind of like, yeah, you can put out the 4 singles. Metallica did like 4 or 5 singles before 72 Seasons came out. Still a great record. Everyone's still stuck around for it. I still hear it on the radio all the time still. And then there's something like we did where we started when we were mixing the Poconos, we made the decision that we only wanted to release 1 single. But then Matt can talk to this one. When we did right before the album came out, like a week before, we had a VR guy come in, this guy Ryan come in and make this rad video for We Love You. So we're like, okay, now we got to release a second single, kind of. But it was more of just a fun way to get eyes on that song, I guess. Or,
Well,
I'll let Matt take that part.
Well, what's really going on is that the label has boatloads of analytics, and
Right.
they know that if you put 1 single out, it just goes like this, and then the album comes out and it's a little bump and it's gone. And they know that. So they'll sit there in the meeting with you, and they'll tell you why you're wrong. And this is what, Godsmack did. This is what Disturbed did. This is what Metallica did. And here's their numbers. Every time they put out a single, it goes like this. And if you actually look at the greater sum, it's better than if you do what we did. And they're basically chasing the ambulance, right? They're just following data.
It's what they care about.
Well, at the end of the day, we know that people don't care about records that much anyways. So let's just hit them with these peaks before, and then we don't really care if the record gets ruined. I mean, maybe they're good people and maybe they do care, but they don't care in terms of keeping their job, right? Like we want to have as much play as possible. And I totally get it, but that's part of being, in this sort of, it's sort of like Bino put it this way. Our manager, he said, it's kind of like being in a stream and you're this pebble and you're just getting pushed down the stream with everything else. Instead of being like this solid rock with an original idea, or at least being able to live and die by your idea, right? Like if our record just completely tanked off when it came out, it would be our choice and our fault, and you have to be okay with that, right? Yeah. Like the way we did it. I think there's no good answer right now. I think everybody's swimming in the muck. They're all trying to figure out a way to get eyes on their records. There's too much out there right now. There's, I was in New York. Last time I was in New York, I went to the planetarium, but there's a lot of stuff next to it. And it started talking about after a certain amount of choices, humans don't know what to do with it. And it becomes all the same. And that's kind of where we're at with music. There's no real curators to there's no Mike at Bionic Records necessarily. There's 1 Bionic Records now. It's not everywhere. There's no K-Rock. There's no, pushing new music. There's no MTV. There's no curators now. So you have everybody's on the playlist, and it's impossible to kind of figure out what's great and what's not. And you're in this situation now where you're trying to get any bit of attention you can. And I feel for those bands and the labels, but like Johnny said, it's exciting because you don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. It's the freedom of knowing that it's not really going to matter. So just do whatever you want. And hopefully really cool art comes out of this instead of chasing the ambulance, So that's why people do it though. It's analytics.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, you got a great record, and I absolutely love it. I've said it all through the interview, and I can't thank you enough for doing the show. And I hope to get to see you live and hear some of these songs live, because it's a fantastic record, and you guys took a chance and fucking hit it out of the park, man. So
thank you.
One last question. You guys comedy fans?
Yeah, I absolutely, I am, Dean.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I don't know how you can not be a comedy fan. I
like stand up.
So here's my situation. Whenever stand-up's on or there's something on Netflix or whatever, I watch it and I love it. But I don't actively seek out comedy, which maybe I should.
We got to go up and check out Dean. He's a regular at the Comedy Store.
Well, absolutely. Now that we know each other, of course, I got to do it. I love it.
Yeah, you got to come out. Bill and I did the Troubadour last night. That was pretty wild.
Oh, the Troubadour. That's awesome. That's
little
cool.
surprise gig because we leave on tour Wednesday. But that was interesting to tell some jokes in that iconic venue. I pretty much have done all the rock venues now, even the Rainbow. They do comedy in the Rainbow now upstairs in that, that bar up there where they have the dancing. They do comedy up there. So I've done the Rainbow. I've done the Roxy, the Whiskey, the Troubadour, the Fonda, the Will Turn, the Forum. So I need the Hollywood Bowl. Have you guys done the Hollywood Bowl?
We not proper. We did the Scream Awards there, right? We played one song at the Scream Awards at the Hollywood Bowl.
I did some stuff with Linkin Park there, but
that's right. You did. Yeah, we haven't played like a set there or anything.
Well, thanks for doing the show, and I appreciate it. Get this record, people. I know a lot of people listen to the show, and I've been pumping the record for 2 weeks now, and I can't tell you enough. Get this record, man. If you're into, like we say, outside the box music, you're going to love this thing. And great talking with you guys, man.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you so much, man. Really, really great to meet you.
Yeah, you too. And I'm looking forward to seeing the tour somewhere. Are the tour dates up on the website?
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys obviously have Instagram and you guys doing TikTok?
I think management set one up for us.
Yeah, I think there's one set up. I don't think we've done anything with it.
I think there's a couple of videos. I don't know.
It's so fucked, man. It's like, here we are, like grown adults. Okay, I got my TikTok video, and then I moved it to Instagram, and I did the YouTube short, and then Twitter. I fought with some people over politics. Okay, I'm good today.
That's totally good. You got to play that game with the podcasting too.
Nuts.
I got to put it on every fucking platform. It's crazy.
Everything's a clip. Okay, did you do a clip today? Fuck, man. I'm trying to fucking write some jokes or songs.
Yeah, man.
Clip.
Yeah. It's gnarly.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for doing
thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.
Later.
Later.